Our protagonist is sleeping peacefully in his bed like a man with zero responsibilities when he's suddenly awakened by a soft set of milk balls pressing onto him, and it's covered in sweat, which makes it even better. The girl is completely on top of him, but then suddenly she takes her shirt off, claiming it's too hot, revealing her gigantic chesticles that can't even fit in the manga panel. Basically, she's doing the panel break challenge in real time. She's not even wearing her cannon holders to support her gallons of milk, which gets our boy really excited since he's ready to replace them and hold them for her. But to understand how this lucky guy ended up in such an amazing position, we'll need to go back a few weeks. When our boy is washing the swimming pool with his classmate, he reveals that his dad's wiener will be young again because he is getting remarried and that he's going to have an older sister. His friend is shocked when he hears this and asks what she's like. Our boy reveals that she's 24 and likes cute things. And when she heard about getting a younger brother, she was super excited. All his friends are jealous since none of them has ever had any female interaction because it's an all-boys school. And the closest they've gotten to a woman is buffering eye contact with 3 female teachers, one of whom is basically the old lunch lady running on expired patience and mashed potatoes. So all his friends say, "Let me be your brother-in-law." But our boy is lost in his fantasies of his sister being an absolute banger when suddenly the teacher appears in front of him and yells at him for slacking off. It's Hina sensei, and she stares at him like a witch. And upon seeing her, he can feel his body gripped tightly by her pubic hair and upside down, and he's not a fan. He starts telling her that he'll lick the pool clean and never get lost in thought during work again. Kazuki is in tears since she's super scary, which makes his 6-incher subway bro grow invertedly. Hina sensei is their sports teacher and the 4th female teacher. However, in my school time, it was just a fat old dude who looked like he'd lose a race to his own shadow. And if this type of female teacher had been there in my time, I would never have skipped sports class. She's beautiful, has nice eyes, and beautiful hair. But she is an absolute demon, so none of the boys actually count her as a woman. Kazuki tells his friends he's most likely going to have bad dreams about her. However, he can hold on to that thought for later, because tomorrow he's going to meet his angel-like older sister, and he can't wait to blow up his pants with white explosives upon seeing her. Finally, the day comes, and his dad takes him to meet his sister in his mini car that looks like it's one pothole away from becoming a public obituary. His dad tells him her first name is Maki-san, and he explains that she's so excited to see him that she couldn't even sleep last night. Kazuki starts blushing, and he realizes that their last name is also Maki, so will she be called Maki Maki? His dad tells him she doesn't want that, so she'll stick with her old name. They arrive at the apartment, and he meets Mommy Yuko, his stepmom. He thinks her daughter is definitely perfect, since she herself is a bright person, and this thought raises his curiosity level as he wants to see her quickly. Yuko calls her daughter, and Kazuki finally gets to meet her, and this page truly proves that our boy is a man of culture, since he clearly knows what he should be looking at first. Nice slim legs that go on for days, a pair of absolute mountain peak milk blasters that look like they could sustain a small village, and a mouth that's clearly a world-class glizzy fitter. Her hair is flowing like a shampoo commercial, but when he finally zooms out to check the face, wait a minute, that's my damn PE teacher. Our boy freezes harder than a cheap laptop running 40 Chrome tabs and wonders why Hina sensei is here. Yuko and his dad surprise him by revealing that his homeroom teacher is also his new stepsister. Our boy turns to face and sees them both smiling, even throwing out a few emotes, but he can't believe his demonic teacher is about to become his sister, and that realization hits so hard that he falls onto his knees as reality collapses around him, and everything fades into nothingness. The angelic One-san who look after him turns out to be the devil instead. But wait, it's not too late. So he trembles like crazy as he tells her that he doesn't want to live with her. But she treats his opinion like a terms of service agreement and just clicks ignore. And his dad and his new mom say they'll leave the rest to both of them without our boy's consent, and they leave for their honeymoon. Now Kazuki is stuck in the house with his stepsister Maki, and he nervously asks her to shake hands to establish a bond. She calls him Kazuki, which surprises him since she's using his first name so quickly. She reaches out her hand, and our boy trembles, but he shakes hands with her, and upon feeling her nice, warm hands, he instantly falls onto his knees. On their first day of living together, Maki suggests they play a game and hands over a box to him, and our boy asks what's inside this box. Hina replies that in this box there are items so that they can get to know each other more deeply. Kazuki's unholy thoughts enter his mind as he thinks they're about to dive so deep that they know every inch of each other's bodies in a way that would definitely get this video demonetized. But she's not talking about that and shows the question card to him. She tells him that their mother left them various question cards in a box so they can answer random questions and know each other better. They sit down and she starts shaking the box. She looks at Kazuki and tells him to park his flat ass right next to her. Maki is a bit irritated by the fact that he's giving his older sister too much respect. However, Kazuki can never relax since it's like sitting next to a damn apex predator, and he's shaking like my audience when your crush accidentally makes eye contact with you. But he realizes she is an absolute 10 out of 10. She aggressively draws her card like she's playing poker for her life and asks him what his favorite food is. He replies saying it's hamburg, and she reveals that she dislikes bell peppers. Now it's Kazuki's turn, and he asks what her best feature is. She confidently tells him it's her stomach muscles, pulls her shirt up to show him, and asks if they're charming. Kazuki's face slowly turns a deep shade of red, and he quickly turns away, because looking directly at a woman's stomach might get them pregnant, but she thinks he's doubting her, so she fully takes off her jacket and shows him her stomach. Now, me having a master's degree in human anatomy, especially when it comes to 2D girls and midriffs, I'm basically an expert, so let me give my thoughts on this. So, I personally call this perfect, since her stomach is still very slim, and the belly button is in a nice vertical line, so appearance-wise, I'll give this a solid 9 out of 10, but for its lickability, I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10, since there aren't a lot of muscles on it. Maki pulls Kazuki's hand to touch her stomach, and upon touching it, our boy's third eye is fully awakened, since it's a texture unlike anything he has ever touched before. And he starts stroking his hand on her soft skin like a total creep polishing a magic lamp. She then looks at him with a terrifying face and asks if it is charming. Kazuki looks at her face once more, and he agrees with her. She is glad to hear this, and our boy lets out a sigh, and they move on to the next question. He draws a card, and the question that Maki has to answer is how many people she has dated. When she hears this, Maki asks if that really is the question because she cannot believe it, but she tells him 0, and Kazuki is surprised to hear this and asks if it's true. She turns on her dark mode and asks if that's a bad thing. Kazuki gets scared, so he moves on to the next question faster than a politician dodging a tax fraud allegation. The next question is how old she was when she had her first kiss. Maki is getting irritated by all these romance-related questions. Kazuki says surely she has had her first kiss because, after all, she's 24. But she gets really close to him, lifts up his chin and tells him no, she has not kissed anyone before. Alright, looks like the girl is actually the more relatable one in this manga for my audience and me. Yeah, we're all in the same lonely and zero lip contact club. Kazuki tries his best to avoid these types of questions, but as he reaches for another card, the question turns out to be the literal holy grail for any second lip enthusiast. What color panties she is currently wearing. I have to give a standing ovation to Maki's mom for making these questions, because let's be honest, she didn't pack that box for bonding, she packed it like a pre-game kit for some dangerously questionable family chemistry. Maki flips out and goes Super Saiyan after hearing this. She gets up, and Kazuki gets worried, thinking he made her angry, but as she's walking away, she blushes and tells him it's pink. Our boy starts drinking to wet his throat, because the situation has calmed down, and after playing the game, Kazuki feels like he actually knows her better, so he hopes the two of them can live happily together. He gets up to go to the bathroom, but as he opens the door, the seat is occupied. Maki turns bright red, and Kazuki's eyes aim assist is too damn ope as it locks onto the target with 100% accuracy. And he finds out that she wasn't lying when she told him it was pink. Kazuki and Maki decide to divide their chores into two. She'll make dinner, and he'll do the cleaning and the laundry, and this is the best laundry session of his life, because he's able to go through her entire inventory of Victoria's Secret collection while hanging the treasure out to dry like he's curating a fine art gallery of lace. He even takes advantage of this and gets in a couple of sniffs here and there. Suddenly, he hears a sound coming from Maki's room. He slowly goes over to check it out and peeps through the window, and all of a sudden, his little soldier decides to join the party, peeping through his pants with more enthusiasm than a kid at a candy store. He looks inside her room and finds her passed out in a deep sleep, her body covered in sweat, which makes her look even better again. After waking up, she enters Kazuki's room and invites him to go outside and do something fun since the weather is nice. Kazuki asks what they should do. She sticks her chest out and lets him know there are plenty of things she wants to do, and it turns out her definition of fun is Korean barbecue. They pick the buffet and a minimum wage warrior brings it to the table, and Maki starts cooking them. The barbecue is finally ready to eat now, and our boy thanks her. She hands him a plate and gives him another plate full of bell peppers. Kazuki suspects that she's just pushing over what she doesn't want, but she insists and tells him to look into her eyes since the only thing he'll see is her eyes caring for him. However, her eyes sell her out and completely give her away. Maki asks what Kazuki does most of the time. She tells him that she recalls him liking manga, so she suggests they read some, but that must be the wrong Kazuki since our boy has zero interest in manga, and she tells him she has an interest in things that he likes. Kazuki then asks what he is to her, a student or a brother. Maki explains that she'll treat him as a student at school and a brother at home, and since she's his sister right now, she doesn't want him to be scared. She swears she won't get angry at him unless he does something wrong, so Kazuki tells her to eat these bell peppers as a test. She agrees to do so that Kazuki will understand the power of his older sister. She picks one up, but as soon as it touches her lips, she freaks out and tells Kazuki to eat it instead, then stuffs it down his throat. Kazuki starts blushing since they just had an indirect kiss. They're going to move on to new activities, and she tells Kazuki to ride her from behind while hugging her. Kazuki is shocked by the idea of hugging her. She explains that it's for the purpose of him not falling off, but she thinks that maybe Kazuki thinks she smells of sweat, and to convince him that she doesn't smell, she rips her jacket open and tells him to smell her. Kazuki wonders if this is okay. She tells him since he's her brother, she doesn't mind. But what Maki doesn't know is that Kazuki is actually asking himself if it is okay, since he might lose himself if he takes one deep breath of that sisterly aroma. His internal pipes are going to burst, and he'll start leaking fluids down his legs right there in the parking lot. He goes for a sniff on her midriff, and she smells amazing. So our boy gives it a 5-star review and lets her know that it smells fantastic. But this act might traumatize a child since she is caught in the crossfire and sees the entire scene unfold. Kazuki puts on his helmet, and Maki tells him to hug her. Now Kazuki forgets to turn off his aim assist again, and his hands instantly lock onto her massive chesticles like his controller completely disconnected. And this might not just be aim assist, but straight aimbot, because no matter how hard our boy tries to let go of the massive target, he is just stuck in the grab animation, and if Maki realizes he's treating her milk barrel like a steering wheel, his life subscription is going to be instantly canceled before they even hit second gear. He starts apologizing, but she tells him to not apologize, and explains to him that since he's her brother, as long as he formally requests a VIP pass to cop a feel of her front bumpers, she's totally down to let him squeeze. Now this is just insane, and absolute cinema, and I know my audience wants this type of stepsister. Kazuki is dragged around with Maki, and they play table tennis where Maki starts doing some anime ultimate power move on him, and they also play a game of pool. Kazuki then comes to the realization that she's been dragging him around all day to make him look at her as a sister, and not a teacher, which he really appreciates, but he can't really concentrate on other things, because his rocket is just rock hard all the time. And don't judge him. I know half of you are sitting in your dark, unventilated bedrooms right now with the exact same problem just from me reading this script. Maki tells Kazuki she's going to have a shower, and tells him not to peek. Kazuki quickly assures her he won't peek on her in the bath, but she isn't talking about the bath. She's talking about her room because it looks like there's been a diabolical catastrophe in there. Kazuki goes over to his room to start drawing some stuff when suddenly Maki busts down the door in her birthday suit, looking like she comes straight out of the womb, and jumps onto our boy. The next day, the newspaper headline will be that a high school student dies from suffocation caused by mountain-sized milk balls. Our boy asks what's wrong, and she frantically tells him it came out, and it turns out she is just talking about a spider in the bathroom. Kazuki is pretty calm about it, but Maki tells him to quickly eviscerate that thing from existence, otherwise they'd have to burn the entire place down and move to the South Pole. She wants the spider gone. However, our boy just picks it up with his hand and sends it off, and he tells her how it's surprising that she's scared of a spider. But Maki tells him he passes the test. She explains that she was just pretending to be scared to test his courage. Kazuki thinks she might deserve an Oscar for this, since that was such a convincing act, but more importantly, he tells her to put some clothes on. Kazuki gets in the shower after her because his pocket rocket has been screaming for release like a tea kettle all day, firing off more mental gunshots in his trousers than a redneck on the 4th of July. While putting on clothes, he smells something burning. He runs out, and sees Maki attempting to burn the entire apartment down. Kazuki looks at the food, and it looks like it was harvested from the literal colon of Satan. He wonders what this is, and she reveals that she was trying to cook a hamburger for dinner. Kazuki is stunned and realizes that Maki is a demon teacher at school, but at home she's an absolute disaster. She yells at Kazuki and tells him to say whatever he has on his mind, so our boy rips off his protection and tells her up front that she's kind of useless. When she hears this, time freezes for a bit, and Maki's soul leaves her body as she falls onto her knees. She starts tearing up and tells him that he found out about all her secrets, so it's only fair if he tells her his secrets. She pulls him into her and starts tickling him to squeeze out his secrets. So in the end, our boy gives in and shows her his secrets on the PC. Kazuki's secret is that he draws mangas, but he couldn't get into the finals though. She starts reading it, so he tells her not to look at it since it sucks. But she says, "Nah, stand proud, you can draw." And his secret is pretty good, not like my audience. She places her hand on his head and pulls him in and starts rubbing his head to praise him. But she damn near commits murder with this act, since she almost snaps our boy's neck in the process. She yells out that from now on she'll give him lots of love when they're at home. She hugs him from behind and tells him that since he now knows all her secrets, she'll just be herself from now on. Maki is in her swimsuit and tells Kazuki to do some training. Kazuki is forced to come to the pool with Maki because she realizes that Kazuki's grades are questionable. During last year's swimming exam, there were 2 people who weren't able to swim 25 meters, and Kazuki was one of them. So, she asks if he is going to be able to finish it this year. Kazuki starts sweating since he's terrible at sports, and he'll most likely not finish it. Maki speed blitzes him and hugs him, telling him she doesn't want to scold him, but if he fails again this year, she'll be forced to unleash her beast and scold him. She squeezes him real tight, telling him she won't be able to handle scolding her younger brother, and our boy is currently suffocating. Dear God, I've seen what you do for others. Why is this spineless, noodle-armed loser getting the motorboat of a lifetime while I'm stuck here narrating it? It should have been me, not him. I would gladly trade my entire career to be the one getting my ribs crushed by those glorious ballistic missiles. She whispers in his ear that they're going to enter his training arc. They arrive at the pool, and Kazuki really doesn't want to train, but Maki is here to motivate him and have him stay hard in more than one way. After seeing Maki's athletic body in a swimsuit, something inside Kazuki snaps, and he just can't take his eyes off her massive calcium packs. She catches him staring and asks if there's something on her humongous milk bombs. After seeing this, Kazuki's pants start rising up to the level of Mount Fuji. However, Maki still doesn't get the memo that Kazuki is simply appreciating her massive milk cannons because he's a guy, and when guys see twin milk rockets, their instincts take over and their eyes subconsciously lock onto them. She stares at him and notices something, and that is his stomach has a little more fat than hers, and she starts pinching it. Kazuki asks why she pinches his stomach, and she replies because she wants to check if he has only fat on his stomach or if he's got thickness in other, more interesting departments. She tells him to do some stretches before jumping in, and once she starts stretching her body, our boy's pants do the same, and it's rising up to the level of Annapurna Mountain. Honestly, if his fly doesn't burst into flames from the sheer friction, it'll be a miracle of modern textile engineering. The time has come, and Kazuki gets in the pool. Maki tells him to swim 2 sets of 25 meters at his own pace. Kazuki starts swimming, but he stops halfway. Maki looks down at him with a menacing face and lets him know that he still has 10 meters left, and at this rate she's going to have to scold him and give him a good spanking session. This has Kazuki shaking and trembling in fear to the point where his rock-hard missile shivers and shrinks right back into his body like a turtle's head in a blizzard. Maki feels bad and brings him close to her and calls him a good boy, but she pulls him close to her thighs, so Kazuki's pants get back up on their feet and start climbing the mountain again. Now at 8,400 meters high, he jumps right back into the water like he just finished watching 2 David Goggins videos and now wants to carry the boats and the logs. He focuses on the goal and his 6-inch paddle helps to give direction like a boat, and our boy somehow finishes it even though his foot touches the floor many times. Maki praises him, and Kazuki is really happy to hear this and calls her kind. But as he looks up at her and sees her sitting in a position that offers a panoramic view of the promised land, he finally loses it, and his pants fully reach the peak of Mount Everest. He tries to calm his Excalibur down, but Maki gets in and proceeds to teach him the basics of being in the water. She suggests that they start off by holding their breath underwater, and she dunks her head in, but she instantly gets up with a blank expression. She looks at Kazuki and asks him why his nether region is getting big. She starts freaking out, thinking our boy got excited by a little girl running at the pool. Kazuki denies this, but Maki tells him that she teaches health and physical education, so she knows that a man's domain expands when they're feeling excited in ungodly ways. Kazuki doesn't want to tell her the truth, but Maki will squeeze him dry to have him explain to her why he expands his domain. So in the end, he tells her that it's because of her swimsuit that had him going full mast as tall as Mount Everest. Maki is stunned to hear this, and she turns bright red. She panics and asks if Kazuki has the urge to take his older sister to Pound Town. Kazuki explains that it's because he doesn't see her as his sister at all. At home, Maki tells him they'll be going in the bath together from now on. Our boy is shocked to hear this, and asks why he has to do that. But then he remembers the incident at the pool, and this is why she is doing that. She tells him she wants him to look at her as a sister without thinking anything. So she'll shows her entire premium assets that my audience looks at in the incognito tab. They are ready to go into the bathroom, and our boy now feels like he's about to enter heaven. She starts taking off her clothes, and our boy covers his eyes. But he's a guy, and you know that during the initial stage of peak puberty, no guy can hold back when this type of opportunity to peak presents itself. Maki asks him to take off his clothes quickly, and he tells her that she should go in before him. Now, unfortunately, I can't recap any further than this, otherwise the YouTube team will hunt me down.